Good morning, Facebook friends. Helen Archontou here, CEO of the YWCA of Northern New Jersey. So happy to have some time with you today on Friday. I'm very thrilled for this conversation today. A few months ago, I was, looking at the local paper, and because I live locally to Montclair, and I was looking at the paper and watching this initiative as it kind of has evolved and happened, and it's so linked with our mission at the YWCA that I felt important to share this story with all of you. And my hope in doing this is that those of you watching go back to your school districts and ask them to embark on a similar journey so that what's happened here can become a standard for New Jersey. So let's get into it and talk about it. And before we do that, though, I want to introduce my three wonderful guests this morning. I have with me the Assistant Superintendent for Equity, Curriculum, and Instruction with the Montclair Public Schools, Dr. Kalisha Morgan, Montclair Board of Education President, Latifah Jannah, and Board Member Eve Robinson. And again, together, the three of them will be telling us about the inclusive initiatives that they have put forth in the Montclair School District. As a district, Montclair has chosen to recognize the Juneteenth, Indigenous Peoples Day, and a week of action for Black Lives Matter as a way to celebrate and respect diversity and the different cultures that make up Montclair. Before we jump into the conversation further, though, let me introduce my guests to you in more detail so you know from where they come. To start, let me tell you a little bit about Dr. Kalisha Morgan. As I shared, she's the Assistant Superintendent for Equity, Curriculum, and Instruction at the Montclair School District. She has over 25 years of experience as an accomplished educator at the elementary, secondary, and district levels. Dr. Morgan earned a BA in elementary education and history, a master's in instruction and curriculum, and a master's in educational administration and the ED in instructional leadership. She focused her doctoral dissertation on the implementation of extended school day programs to support student achievement and hold certifications as a teacher, principal supervisor, special educator, and a school administrator superintendent. So with that, we also have Montclair Board of Education President, Latifah Jannah. She is a mother, a grandmother, and a longtime resident of Montclair. She attended Nishwain Elementary School long before the magnet schools and busing, and holds memories of a tight-knit South End community of families, shops, ice cream parlors, police officer page, Nishwain Park, and Glenfield Parks. Ms. Jannah has been involved in the Montclair School District since 1984 and holds a master's degree in counseling from Montclair State University and certifications from Montclair and certifications in elementary education and a student's assistant counselor. She is currently a program director for Sister to Sister, a mentoring group, Sister to Sister Mentoring Group Incorporated, and a member of the Juvenile Conference Committee for the Township and a member of the NAACP Education Committee. And last but not least, Eve Robinson, Montclair board member. She's a recognized expert in the field of early education, child welfare, child advocacy, and child prevention. Her professional career has spanned several decades, including 12 years as the executive director of the Montclair Community Pre-K, where she led the school to national recognition and worked closely with the Montclair School District to create inclusive classrooms for preschool children. Ms. Robinson is currently the project director for Grow New Jersey Kids Technical Assistance Center through the Central Jersey Family Health Consortium. She has taught in higher education for over 20 years and is currently an adjunct instructor and training specialist for 3 programs at Montclair State University, social work, part of the Robert McCormick Center for Child Advocacy, the Department of Justice Studies, and the Center for Autism and Early Education, Early Childhood Mental Health. Wow, I feel so honored to be three.
That's way too much.
Power women. It's not way too much. I always say this. So as women, we never really sit in that space. Right. So not only should you do it, but I'm very happy that our viewers get to hear it as well. So, ladies, I again just thank you for making the time. I know this is a school day. I know that there's a lot going on in all of the districts right now. With a different learning experience that we're all juggling. But what we're here today is to talk a little bit about your decision to rename the October holiday, as well as celebrate the Juneteenth as a school holiday. So can you tell us a little bit about that, Ms. Jannah, Dr. Morgan?
Ms. Jannah, you want to start?
Okay. The impetus, I guess, for adding Juneteenth and the Indigenous Peoples Day, as well as Black Lives Matter School Week, to our school calendar actually came through a conversation that was held with a group of staff members here in Montclair, Teachers Undoing Racism Now. And we realized this wasn't a big leap to do. So Indigenous Peoples Day, as we know, is recognized in many areas across the country. I believe we are now the first school to actually put it on the calendar, but Princeton has also recognized Indigenous Peoples Day, as well as Newark. So we're glad to be starting that movement here in New Jersey. Juneteenth is kind of interesting because Juneteenth clearly is celebrated in many areas. It's not something that happens too much in Montclair. In recently, our students actually pushed through their demonstrations about social justice, and actually had a demonstration on Juneteenth. But in conversation with the staff and just with our students, it just became something that was very important. We actually were in discussion about it prior to the governor recognizing it as a state holiday. I grew up with Juneteenth. My mother was from Waco, Texas. She celebrated Juneteenth her entire life, and she thought it was ridiculous that as children we did not know about Juneteenth. So I learned about Juneteenth from her. So we felt this was important. It's an important part of our history, and it's something that all of our students and our families need to know about. Black Lives Matter at School Week has been happening for the past few years. Dr. Morgan will probably address some of this because our Montclair staff as well was in partnership with South Orange Maplewood to provide staff training, to provide information to be used during that week of action for teachers in the classroom. So this will be in January, but just like Black Lives Matter in School Week is not a week, or Black Lives Matter is not a day, or Black History is not a month, this is ongoing. So we look to perpetuate this and move this throughout the district, throughout the teaching that happens in the district.
Well, I love that this was, this initiative, this effort, was something that came together from lots of different directions and really embraced by all. It sounds like a very expansive process, that you all went through. What was the timing from when the discussion started to do it to when it actually came to fruition? How long did that take?
It really wasn't that long. I'd have to go dig in my notes exactly when we met. It wasn't too long after we met and that we had started the discussion and moved to for the board to approve it and adopt it and put it into the calendar. So it really wasn't a long process, but as I said, when we began talking about it, we realized it was something that we could do. And it was also an answer to our student voices. Our students, our high school students, put together between them 2 demonstrations that had over 6,000 people involved. And so clearly we needed to, as a district and as a community, we needed to respond to those voices. So it really was not that involved in which to make that happen.
That's wonderful, wonderful, and how empowering for those students to know that their voices led to these actions for their districts. I mean, that's obviously something that not only those individual students will carry for their lives, but a legacy that your district has in terms of their relationship with their students.
Right.
Dr. Morgan, can you talk more about your Department of Equity, Curriculum, and Instruction and how it's impacting racial justice? And I guess one add-on question for people watching who may not be so familiar with districts and departments and how they're set up, is this a unique department that you have in your district, or is this something that every district now is implementing?
It was unique when it was implemented. I believe it was implemented in 2016. Many districts that I've worked did not have a Department of Equity, but it's necessary right now. It's been necessary. So I'm happy to be here in Montclair, where we are focused on identifying ways in which students of color are experiencing inequities in our district. So this is very important, and I hope that many districts take this lead. And many districts they have a separate assistant superintendent or director of equity and a separate director of curriculum instruction. So I have the unique opportunity to service both, and so I'm very excited about that. So one of the ways, there are many things that we are going to do here. Unfortunately, due to COVID, I've been more focused on the reopening plan than we have been on equity. However, it is being discussed in our department each and every day. We are acknowledging student voices, as Ms. Jannah said earlier. I know that there's a lot of Facebook pages that went up after the George Floyd murder about, being Black and different, Black in Montclair High School, Black in Montclair Kimberly Academy, and people need to listen to what our students are saying. Many students do not talk to their parents, so this is their outlet. I've spoken to, even my kids and friends of kids, my friends' kids, and they're saying things that we were not aware of that's happening in schools. So we definitely need to speak to our students. We need to also talk to parents in Montclair who decided that Montclair High School is not for them. We need to find out why. There's many parents of color who live in the district but do not choose to send their kids here. So those conversations have started, and I'm happy to be a part of those conversations. And also, we need to listen to what our community is saying. No matter what color you are, we need to listen to what our community is saying about what's happening in our schools, what's happening to our children. And then we need to look at, once we have all of this information, that means that we're acknowledging that it's happening. Just listening to people, is giving them the power to come forward, and we need to acknowledge what they're saying. So after we do that, we need to look at our curriculum, and we need to identify where in our curriculum that inequities are taking place. We need to identify where in our communication that inequities are taking place. We need to be sure that our communication is given in different languages so that parents understand what's going on in our district. We also need to look at our hiring practices, and not just hiring people of color, but retaining them. Many people come into districts and they stay 1 or 2 years and they say, this district is not for me because of X, Y, and Z. We need to be sure that our exit interviews address these issues so that we know where we need to move. And that may not stop people from leaving, but it will help us to develop programs so that new people coming in will not leave. And again, looking at our district policies across the board, many districts have so many policies, and we need to really weed out those policies that are inequitable. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, please.
And I can talk about this forever.
That's the point, so keep talking.
So, and once we do this, then we need to dismantle the racism and rebuild. This is what we need to do. There's been a lot of talk. And it's been a lot of talk for a long time, and we really need to dismantle what's happening, and we need to address it, and we need to have difficult conversations. And we like to make people comfortable, but my motto has been this year: it's time to make people empower uncomfortable. And although I make the decisions, I'm part of the decision-making team, then make me uncomfortable, point out what's going on, and force me to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's actually what I was going to say. Is that it's wonderful to hear that there's a department dedicated to this work, because there has been so much conversation about systemic racism. Obviously, George Floyd's murder, it really started really focusing on law enforcement, but even at our YWCA, we hosted a town hall and talked about the education systems and the child protective service systems, and all the different systems that we know that it's embedded. And we really will never dismantle it until there is really dedicated effort, that really stay very focused on it. So I really appreciate you sharing that detail, because again, my hope with this discussion is we're sharing a model for others to replicate. And for those of you listening, you may not work in an education system. You may work in a corporate office or in a small business or elsewhere. What Dr. Morgan's talking about are really things you should be thinking about for whatever arena you're working in. I'm so grateful that they're actually happening in a school district, because as we know, our children and our Black and Brown children specifically are really being impacted, from the start of their lives all the way through with issues. So I really do appreciate you sharing that detail. So I understand that you have a new administrative team and a new high school principal in your district, which is a lot of new with everything else going on. I can appreciate. So can you tell us a little bit about them and some of their goals and how that plays into our discussion today? Do you want to take that one?
Well, I can talk about as a board member who's going in their 6th year of being on the board, that we are a district that has experienced a lot of change has been a bit chaotic, and a lot of that is not just us. That's been around New Jersey because of the difficulty with the cap on superintendent salaries. And what resulted from that was a lot of interim superintendents that were only allowed to serve for 24 months. And 24 months, as it sounds, not very long. Not very long when a school district and change in a school district takes enormous amount of time and energy and commitment. So we this last year, even in spite of COVID, looked to bring in permanent a solution here for our administrative team. And we were lucky enough, the Board of Education were lucky enough to find and hire someone and give him a 5-year contract to get this work started. Everything that Dr. Morgan is talking about the groundwork has been there for a long time, and the voices have been out there for a long time. We've been hearing them. The community hears them. We didn't have the permanent people to get this stuff rolling. So we have him on board, and he was happily he brought Dr. Morgan on board as well. And he's now created an administrative team that is getting to work on the priorities that were outlined just now by Dr. Morgan. In addition, we were able to we did lose our high school principal to a superintendency in a neighboring district. But we were very happy just this week to appoint someone in-house, someone who's been here, someone who's been at the high school, been a vice principal at the high school, a principal in our elementary schools. He's known to the community, he's known. So we're excited because our high school principal is a vital member of this administrative team. Our high school is a jewel in our crown, we call it, and we want it to continue and grow to be that. People who went to Montclair High School feel that way. Anyone you meet who went to Montclair High School feels that way. Despite the problems, despite the deficiencies, despite some of the things that we're missing, people feel a strong, strong bond to Montclair High School. We want that to continue. So we brought in, we, the Board of Education, we're working very hard. Despite this pandemic, in March, we brought a new superintendent in on July 1. And Dr. Morgan followed. So as you say, it's a very new team, but they're very experienced and we're proud of them.
Well, it sounds like too that you're, set up for them to stay with you for a period of time. And, as Dr. Morgan was sharing too, I mean, retention is key for change. I mean, you can't, when you're turning over staff, that's starting and stopping and starting and stopping, impedes the progress on the systemic change that, you all are working for. So it's wonderful to hear and, give that confidence to the community that, that commitment is there for sure. So, Dr. Jannah, Ms. Jannah.
He's sort of an informal doctor.
Yes. Well, so can you tell us a little bit about the Board of Education in Montclair and its support of the Restorative Justice Initiative district-wide? And also, I love this, how you appointed a student member to the board. I know that that's an initiative that happens a lot of places around the state, but so important.
I'm going to let Eve take part of this as well. About when I came on the board in 2018, I believe the Restorative Justice Initiative was really just beginning. It had been something that had been talked about. In fact, before I came on the board, I was one of the community members on the committee around implementing restorative justice. So this is something that's been key, and it's really part of what we want to have in place and to stay in place and to move our district forward. Having worked in Montclair for many years, as well as raise my kids and help raise my grandkids here, is that a lot of times we have turnover in our program. So that with all good intentions, we put things in place and then they last maybe a year or two and then they fade away for whatever reason. So there's been a real commitment to not only the planning, but also the implementation of restorative justice. So it's involved training from the Advancement Project. We have Dewana Nicole and her trainers come here. We're in our second year of implementation. COVID's kind of slowed down the implementation into other schools. We started off with 4 pilot schools, and we had planned to move that to 3 more schools for this year. So we're still looking to move this further into the district, but because we're following a model that's a 5-year plan, because we want it to stay. So at the end of 5 years, it won't matter who's superintendent or the assistant superintendent. We expect to see Dr. Morgan for a long time. That sort of justice will be part of the district. It is an initiative that involves the board, the staff, and as well as the community. So you have these 3 pieces, and that's what we're focusing on, continuing to make this work. And it's work. It involves difficult conversations. It involves facing issues that happen within our schools. It involves facing the cultures that are in our buildings that perpetuate systemic racism, that perpetuate cultures regarding our female students. So restorative justice, the foundation of restorative justice is relationships. So building those relationships with our staffs, with our students, with our families is very important. So we are moving forward with that. And of course, not student representative. We have a student representative. This is the first time this has been done in Montclair. That's not the first time it's been done in the state. There are other districts that have had student representatives for some time. But recently, the legislature basically has made it clear that they want this to happen statewide. That every district has to have a student representative. So I know Eve has been on the board long enough where this was attempted and didn't happen. But we're very happy to have the students that we have. Not only in our schools, but she's a community leader as well. I'm very involved in social justice. Brings all of that to the table in terms of listening to student concerns and bringing to our policies. Like, how do we address policies that are in place that hold our students back? How do we address Black at Montclair High School? How do we do that? So we're very happy that she's here and that she's very involved in what we're doing. But you can talk about maybe the history more.
That's wonderful.
I hear something in the background. I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's a TV or I don't know. Anyway, well, yes, we've been asked wanting to have a student representative on the board. It was discussed over several years by boards, and again, because of what we went through administratively, a lot of times things get put on the back burner, unfortunately. And school districts have so many competing issues that they have to face, so it got pushed, and we finally pushed it to the front burner, and we're able to have, and we worked through the high school and through the high school principal. So we expect going forward that's how it'll evolve, is that the student representative the high school principal and Dr. Morgan will work on how that will happen each year. We were, very fortunate to have someone who's very active in social justice, as Latifah said, this year, and we're excited about it. But we're looking forward, because that would be a 1 or 2 year commitment by this student. But again, it was another piece of this work that we've been trying and working on getting implemented, and that was pushed for by parents, parent voices, was pushed for by student voices. And we're, a school district doesn't move in a very fast manner. It goes slowly towards the goals that we have. So that's where we are right now, and we're excited for the future. Right now, we're really excited. I think the restorative justice piece that Latifah discussed so eloquently is a vital piece of this, because it is about the relationships that are started early. It's not just about the high school restorative justice. It's about starting early. And some of the elementary schools have adopted it and are using it. And many people think of the term restorative justice as something that's related to discipline. It's way beyond that. And it's not really about discipline, but what it does is it does help us with our approaches in our schools to discipline, but it's way more than that. It's much more about relationships, the students relating to one another, as well as to their teachers, and then as well as to, as Latifah said, the greater community. We have police involved, we have our elected officials involved. We want everyone involved in this. So we're excited about that. It's been around a few years now. It was started with a grant that we got from the National Education Association and the NJEA, and it's grown from there.
That's wonderful. We have a question from a viewer. Rona Vega is asking if you still have a student equity advocate.
Okay. That position itself was looked at by Dr. Pons, our superintendent. So what we have evolved this to is the parent-student coordinator. So we are looking to fill that position, because that is an important piece and person to have within our district to address student issues as well as family issues. We have done this before again. In Montclair, my first position in Montclair was in a role very similar to this, working with students and their families. And found this to be, we actually had this we didn't just have one, we had it in every building for a while. And it is important for families to not only, one of the issues I think that families have in terms of student issues is how to navigate the system. How does this work? And students also, how do we make this work best for you?
Yeah.
And that person can make sure that happens. So it's not just addressing student issues, but families having access. And a lot of what I see in terms of systemic racism in institutions is access.
Yeah.
Some people who benefits from having access to the institution, who does not. And a lot of our families don't. So we need someone in that role to make sure to address that. Equity is about meeting people where they are and providing them with everyone with the supports that they need. And so that is all a part of our overall equity initiative. Restorative justice is a part of that, as well as having the family student coordinator.
Yeah. Well, that's a good information. I have to say, one of the things I had said I wanted to kind of end with was talking about, how other districts can emulate some of the work that you've done and are in the midst of doing. And clearly, though, from this conversation, it really focuses on relationships and communication, and collaboration. That theme clearly has come through all of your conversations and what you've shared. Any other words of inspiration for other districts, though, as maybe they consider embarking on an effort like this?
I would say listen to your community, listen to the students, listen to parents inside and outside of the school district.
Great advice.
I would agree. Go ahead, Latifah. Go ahead.
I guess for me, it's about communication, and it's also about providing that access and addressing those issues, particularly if you spent some time in your district or in your community. You know what's going on. You can see what are the stumbling blocks. What is keeping people from accessing what they need to be the best that they can be, to keep our students from being the best. Dr. Pond says all the time, every student can learn, every student is special. And it's really powerful because it takes it takes the barriers away. It takes that away. If we focus on all of our students learning to their highest level and making sure they have access to that highest level of achievement that they want to work on, that they want to achieve, and helping them get to that and supporting their families and making that happen. I think we will have done, at the end of the day, we will have done a lot to address many of the issues that our students and families are concerned with.
I just want to say, it also takes a board of education that decides to work collaboratively with each other, but also with the district administrators, the teachers, the staff, the parents, and that's not easy. That is not easy. It's a hard conversation. Not everybody gets along with everybody, so we have to really work at that. And if I could say anything, it's get involved. We don't have an elected board here in Montclair. We have an appointed board. However, in your districts, wherever you are, there are elected boards, and you want to be careful about voting in those elections and looking at who you're voting for in that election and what they stand for, and are they willing to be stand up to that collaboration and to be part of that. It really does make a difference. It's not easy to serve on the Board of Education as a community member. It's very, very difficult, and it takes you have to really concentrate. You have to really concentrate and be intentional. You can't just sort of get on and sort of sit there. So you have to really be involved. And so, it all boils down to the same thing we've been saying for months: vote, vote, vote.
Yeah.
That being involved in your community, if you take that step, that's the first step.
Yeah, our viewers are very. That's been my ending message on our shows for months now. Almost now, I'm sitting here like, what do I say to close? Because I've been saying it for so many months. But as I said, and you clearly just reinforced the importance that all elections are important. I know this year there was a lot of focus because of a presidential election, but our local elections and what's happening right close by you and your perimeter is just as important. And voting for your council members and your board of education members and is really key in creating a strong community and a community that reflects your values. So I appreciate I appreciate all the work that you are all doing and that you've done, and I look forward to checking in with you. And obviously know that the YWCA of Northern New Jersey serves your community in Essex County, and our mission, is twofold. But part of it is to eliminate racism. So we do stand with you and your district to support your efforts, and in any way that we can. And I'm so grateful that you shared the plans, the challenges, the opportunities ahead. Because again, my hope is that our viewers think about their districts and, think about how these types of initiatives and programs and changes and, real systemic change, can get institutionalized, around them. And it, as you said, it comes from the voices of the people in the community as well to meet, part way to do this work together. So thank you all. I know it's not easy work on any front, but I know that the payoff at the end is very, very important and big. So it
Right.
makes the hard days worth it for sure. For our viewers, for anyone who's watching, please do not despair if there's someone in your life that you wished had seen this conversation. It is available to you and to them. You can share it through Facebook directly onto your page, or send it specifically to someone, or copy the link and send it in e-blast. We do encourage you to share these conversations. This is the point of YWTV, is to educate and inspire. And we want to make sure that more people learn about, what's happening in our communities, so that they can support. And with that, I want to end with 2 reminders for you, please. For our young women in our community, we have 2 opportunities for you to be signing up for. Both of them are free, and they're open to the young women in the Montclair community too. So I encourage you all to listen as well. We have our SAS, our Serious About STEM program. For girls ages 9 to 14, a virtual program for 6 weeks. And we encourage any young women who are interested in learning everything from different activities around coding to gardening to, cooking and making soap, all STEM related activities. We encourage them to register. We'll put the link here in our comments, and also getting yourself, holiday ready next Friday evening from 7 to 8:30. We have Tiffany Kerr from Chic Situations, who is part of our Share the Mic Now project. For those of you that got to see that episode, she'll be doing a virtual etiquette party for girls 9 to 14 and their parents and caregivers. It's always, she has a wonderful program for young people to learn some of the manners that we would love to have at the dinner table. So with that, I also encourage everyone to consider, if you have not yet, to sign up for our 21-day race challenge. We are really looking for everyone to learn more about the race, power, privilege, and leadership. The link is here in the comments. It's as easy as listening to a podcast, reading an article, and it's an introspective journey for individuals to go on. And our hope is that it will broaden your knowledge base and, have you come stand shoulder to shoulder with us and leaders in the community like we have here to, work to eliminate racism. So
I'm still on that journey. Thank you. I've enjoyed it. I haven't gotten to 21 days yet, but I'm almost there. I have them all saved.
The good thing is they're there for you to go back to. And I have to say, we have over 650 people that have been doing the race challenge or have completed it. And the feedback has been wonderful. So I do encourage you, if you've done it, to share it with your network. If you haven't done it, sign on. It really is for everybody and a wonderful opportunity to learn. As you know, YWTV is all about inspiring and educating you. If you like what you see, if you'd like to support our work, please consider making a donation on our website at ywcanj.org, or you can use your handy dandy cell phone and you can just text equality to 707070 with a donation. And we are always grateful for your support, and we're always grateful for our viewers. We thank you for being with us for all of our great shows this week. Join us for next week. We have a whole new wonderful group of shows for you as well. We wish everyone a safe weekend, and thank you again to my wonderful guest today and for sharing your
Thank
journey.
you. Thank you, Helen. Thank you, Helen.
Well, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.